Jai Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Sri Nrsimha Caturdasi ki Om Jnanachamarandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshurannanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschataya Shatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Ekasha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Chant with me. Jai Nrsimha Shri Nrsimha Jai Nrsimha Shri Nrsimha Jai Nrsimha Dev Jai Nrsimha Dev Pradesha Jaya Padma Pradesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa Oh glories to Lord Nrsimha, Shri Nrsimha, oh glories to Lord Nrsimha. The Lord of Prahlad, like a honeybee, is always engaged in beholding the lotus face of the goddess of fortune. The prayer is from the Brahmanda Purana. Om Ugram Vidam Mahavishnu Jalam Tvam Sarvatolmukam Nrsimham Vishanam Bhadram Mrityum Namamyaham To the fierce, Ugra, brave Lord Mahavishnu, to the all-illuminated one, to He who is omnipresent, to Lord Nrsimha, who is terrible in appearance yet gentle, to the death of death personified, I offer my obeisances. So, the appearance of Lord Krishna is indeed very mysterious. In fact, Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha Tyaktva deham punarjanma naitimam iti surjana. That for one who understands the appearance and activities of my birth and appearance in this world does not, upon leaving his body, take his birth again, but comes back to Godhead. So today, with your blessings, we make a humble attempt to glorify Lord Nrsimha and reveal go through certain truths spoken in this auspicious book, the Srimad Bhagavatam. But before that, I would like to start this occasion by hearing from Srila Prabhupada, who spoke this on the same festival even before I was born. Let's hear what Srila Prabhupada says.
So, Nrsimha has appeared to convince the atheist that there is no God. This is a lying propaganda that nobody has seen God. Everyone has seen God. The devotee sees within his heart, in the temple, and everywhere. And the atheist sees when his the clock, the handles in the clock are over. Prahlad Maharaj was seeing honors constantly Nrsimha Dev, Mahabhagavad, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santas Sadaiva Hridayesi Vidutta. Those who have developed love of God, prema, Premanjana Churita. So, when the ointment of love of God will be applied in our eyes, then with these eyes we shall be able to see God. God is not invisible. Simply, just like a man with cataract or any other eye disease, he cannot see. That does not mean the things are not existing. He cannot see. God is there. But because my eyes are not competent to see God, therefore I deny God. God is there everywhere.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada says that he comes he's explaining with some sarcasm, that's why he laughed, that he's coming in that way. But in actual fact, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that for those that do not surrender to him, Krishna comes in the form of the clock, right? So today, the class is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, an illustrious set of books. Today is a very auspicious day to get a set if you don't have one. And today is, on these auspicious days, if one makes the endeavor or commitment to taking a step closer to Krishna by investing in hearing his glories and pastimes, it brings unlimited good fortune your way. So much that even all of your activities throughout the year may not have brought you. So keep that in mind. So the book that we're reading from is the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Normally the pastimes of the Lord, they take a few chapters or they'll take some pages of a canto. But the entire 7th canto is dealing with this specific pastime of Prahlad Nrsimha. And Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, majority of his audio lectures were based on this particular canto. And then, to take it a step even further, to emphasize why this canto is so important, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he lived in Jagannath Puri at the Gambira, his residence in Orissa, he did one thing. Every morning he would go to see Lord Jagannath at the Jagannath Mandir, but thereafter he would go to the Tota Gopinath temple. And in the Tota Gopinath temple, there was one personality who resided there, and his name was Gadadhar Pandit. It's a manifestation, a partial manifestation of Srimati Radharani. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in front of this deity of Tota Gopinath, a deity of Krishna, he would dance and chant in ecstasy for some hours, and then he would sit down, and Gadadhar Pandit would recite the Srimad Bhagavatam to an illustrious assembly, as you can see in the picture that was commissioned by King Prataparudra. This assembly consisted of great personalities like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, Lord Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, Sri Advaita Acharya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and so many, Haridas Thakur, so many other close associates of the Lord. And they, for hours on end, would hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took great pleasure in hearing two pastimes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. That was the story of Prahlad Maharaj, the Prahlad Nrsimha pastime, and the other one was Dhruva Maharaj pastime. So if you've never heard of Dhruva Maharaj, It's just another reason to think about investing in a set of these books. So, when Gadadhar Pandit would come to the end of reciting the Prahlad Nrsimha pastime or the Dhruva Maharaj pastime, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would tell him, repeat. And then he'd do that again and again. So he took so much of pleasure in hearing from this particular pastime. So I hope that inspired you to stay attentive as we go through this canto, through this hour and a half that we're granted. So we're reading from Canto 7, as we said, Chapter 1, Text number 1. Shri Rajavacha Samapriya Sri Brahman Bhutanam Bhagavan Swayam Indrasyarte Katam Daityan Avidik Vishamo Yatha. King Parikshit inquired, My dear Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, being everyone's well-wisher, is equal and extremely dear to everyone. How then did he become partial, like a common man, for the sake of Indra, and thus kill Indra's enemies? How can a person equal to everyone be partial to some and inimical to others? So, the purport translation by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 9:29, the Lord says, Samaham sarvabhuteshu name dveshu stina priya. I'm equal to everyone. No one is dear to me, nor is anyone my enemy. In the previous canto, however, it has been observed that the Lord sided with Indra by killing the demons on his account. Therefore, the Lord was clearly partial to Indra, although he is the supersoul in everyone's heart. The soul is extremely dear to everyone, and similarly, the supersoul is also dear to everyone. Thus, there cannot be any faulty action on the part of the supersoul. The Lord is always kind to all living entities, irrespective of form and situation. Yet he took the side of Indra just like an ordinary friend. This was the subject of Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry. As a devotee of Lord Krishna, he knew very well that Krishna cannot be partial to anyone. But when he saw Krishna acted as an enemy of the demons, he was somewhat doubtful. Therefore, he posed this question to Sukadeva Goswami for a clear answer. A devotee cannot accept that Lord Vishnu has material qualifications. Parikshit Maharaj knew perfectly well that Lord Vishnu, being transcendental, has nothing to do with material qualities. But to confirm his conviction, he wanted to hear from the authority, Sukadeva Goswami. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Since the Lord is equally disposed toward everyone, how can he be partial? The Lord, being the supersoul, is extremely dear to everyone. Why then should the Lord display unsympathetic behavior toward the asuras? How is this impartial? Since the Lord says that he is Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, the well-wisher of all living entities, how could he act with partiality by killing the demons? These questions arose in the heart of Parikshit Maharaj, and therefore he inquired from Sukadeva Goswami. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Tadvidi pranipatena parikrishnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. That you should try to approach a self-realized soul and inquire from him submissively, and the self-realized soul will impart knowledge unto you. So especially when one is in doubt about high spiritual matters, One should not take short of one's mind, but of higher authority. Parikshit Maharaj is illustrating by this query. So the problem is pretty grave. He has seen that the Lord in the form of Lord Nrsimha, he is taking the part of the demigods. But the demigods and the demons, they are all parts of him. The supersoul resides in the hearts of within the demons and within the demigods. How is it that he is seemingly impartial? So then, when he asked this question, the answer Sukadev Goswami gave was that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Nirgun. He is without material qualities. That means he does not have a material body. That means he does not come under the modes of material nature. That means he is free from having enemies and friends. He is impartial. So then Sukadev Goswami went on to explain that he resides within the heart and the scene right at the very beginning. And practically from his very birth, Shishupal's mouth vibrated like a venomous serpent, insults and blasphemy so sinful it is painful to even hear or repeat about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet when he died, and his sinful brother Dantavakra, the destination they got was that, unlike King Vena, they merged into the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and it was visible by all the people in the assembly. And it was recorded so that you and I, so many years later, could hear this. Narad Muni glorified him for asking this question. And he said it is so good that we clarify this now so that future generations will also hear the answer. And after glorifying Yudhishthira Maharaj for taking the time to ask this question, he explained that your cousins, Shishupal and Dantavakra, previously they lived in a different age. And in that age, Satya Yuga, they took the form of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. But prior to that, they were two gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, at the gates of Vaikuntha, that place which is the abode of Mahavishnu, that place which is free from anxiety, Vaikuntha. This material world is a place of kunta, a place of anxiety and suffering. So then, Narad Muni explained that at that time, when they were performing this service to Lord Vishnu at the gates of Vaikuntha, 4 young boys, who were the first sons of Lord Brahma, who had a benediction or a blessing that they will always appear like 5-year-old children, and thereby totally detached from their outward bodily appearance. They appeared naked, and they were wandering through the universe as Brahmavadis, those who believe in the Brahman effulgence of the Lord being the ultimate. Being attracted by the fragrant, devotionally offered tulsi leaves and manjaris at the feet of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha, the smell reverberated even past the gates of Vaikuntha and into the nostrils of these Brahmavadis, and they then approached Vaikuntha. And the gatekeepers were simply doing their duty. So they admonished them and stopped them for being so bravely walking to gain entrance to Vaikuntha. The 4 Kumaras, who were actually great sages, they uttered a statement. They said, for you to be at the shelter of Madhuvisa, Lord Narayan, in Vaikuntha, is inappropriate because of your behavioral patterns. You are still governed by the lower mode of passion. Thereby, we curse you that go to that planet of passion and ignorance, take your birth as in the earth planet. Then some conversation ensued because Lord Vishnu heard the commotion, came and he granted the Jai and Vijay, the gatekeepers, they eventually, by the mercy of the Lord and the compassion of the four Kumaras, they got a chance to choose whether they could take birth in the material world 7 times as devotees or 3 times as demons. And their choice was to take birth as demons because it would be quicker for them to finish their sentence and return to the bliss of their service to Lord Narayan. Because they understood that even a moment away from the Lord is so painful for a devotee that he will wait. Is it time to serve the Lord? Is it time for the festival to start? Is it time for me to go and volunteer some service at the temple? Is it time for me to go and hear His glories? And they would be there before time, right? So these Jai and Vijay, understanding that urgency, and they decided to take 3 births in the material world as demons. So the younger brother, his name was Hiranyaksha, and he was very, very respectful to his elder brother Hiranyakashipu. And he was always like the right hand of Hiranyakashipu. Thus Hiranyakashipu loved him to bits, as we would say in today's language. So at that time, the demon Hiranyaksha, he was so consumed with false ego and false pride that he had the audacity to take the earth planet out of its orbit and throw it into the nether regions. He had such intense austerities, he had performed such intense austerities that he had these benedictions of great strength that he could do this. And it took a very unique circumstance where Krishna, the all-intelligent being, understanding how to be in time, place, and circumstance, to pick the earth planet, to rescue Mother Bhumi from the nether regions. He appeared in the transcendental boar incarnation, slaying the demon Hiranyaksha and restoring the earth so that you and I could live peacefully today. Hiranyakashipu, at the news of his brother's death, was insanely angry. He wanted to kill Lord Vishnu, who he knew was the perpetrator who killed his most beloved brother. Thus, he decided that the appropriate thing to do would be to step up in my department of strength. So he took to performing austerity. In actual fact, he had an agenda. You see, in this pastime, the personality Prahlad and the personality Nrsimha, you have one who is a proper demon and one who is a proper devotee. So you'll see as we go through the class, their qualities are on point of how a demon behaves and how a devotee thinks and behaves. And we can learn various lessons just from this pastime on how to achieve perfection in our life, how to be your best in your current existence. So Hiranyakashipu decided that he wanted the throne of Lord Brahma. And he thought nobody else, he made it known to some of his associates. And the demigods got word of this. So Hiranyakashipu went into the forest to perform some austerity at the time when his wife was pregnant with Prahlad. And at that time, there was a constant fight between the demons and the demigods. So what happened was that when Hiranyakashipu went out into the forest to perform his austerities, the demigods took it as an opportunity to kidnap the wife Kayadu and to kill the unborn infant within her womb, thinking that this is the seed of a demon. The apple does not fall far from the tree, they thought. Unfortunately, if Krishna wants something to happen, all norms can be broken according to his will. But within the womb of this demoness was a great devotee, Sri Prahlad. And when Indra and the other demigods attempted to kill her and the unborn baby, Narad Muni, the all-knowing Trikal knower of past, present and future, he stopped, he intervened. He said, this woman is innocent. The child she bears is a great devotee of the Lord. And I will take them to my ashram and look after them. Do not intervene again in trying to cause harm to them. Meanwhile, Hiranyakashipu, he went to the forest, and the austerity he performed was he stood on his toes with his arms upraised, as we see in this beautiful illustration. And by the dint of this austerity, without eating, without drinking a drop of water, without sleeping, day and night, standing like this, for 125 years, he performed this austerity. So much so that the insects, the ants, built an ant heap around him, the stillness of his body, and were eating the flesh from his body. But he was so determined to complete this austerity and attain, with great determination, attain his goal, which was the seat of Lord Brahma. And to get great power to rule over the lower, middle, and upper planetary systems. That he performed this austerity until the heat that emanated from his head was so intense. It's mentioned in this canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, very entertaining reading, how he performed this austerity and the heat from his head caused the planets to drop from their orbit. They created so much of fear in the upper planetary systems that the demigods left their position, left their duties, and ran to Brahmaloka. The mountains began to shake, the rivers started to dry, the islands shook, and so many atrocious things started to happen to Mother Nature that it was threatening the existence of living entities on all three planetary systems. So when the demigods approached Lord Brahma, and they told him, although we know you already know, this demon is performing this austerity with so much vigor to gain your seat, to be your equal. He did not know that in terms of Brahmas, they don't even share a planet. One Brahma per universe, right? In this universe, Brahma has 4 heads. Other universes, he has many other heads. So there's no vice. There's no vice president for Brahma. So he thought he could be just like Brahma with the same powers, live for millenniums after millennium, and perform this austerity. And mind you, he performed this austerity because he's a demon. He performed this austerity to please Brahma and to get the benediction from Brahma. So this is demoniac mentality. So what happened was that eventually, after 125 years and the complaints of the demigods to Lord Brahma, together with other great personalities like Brigu, Daksha, etc., he came on his swan airplane, and he couldn't see this place where Hiranyakashipu was performing austerity. They looked in the forest, but remember we said, the Bhagavatam told us, his body was covered by anthill. The only way they could decipher where this personality was performing this austerity was from the heat of his head. And they came, sprinkled water on his body, restored it to its youth, and attended to him. But before that, the demon, how did he behave? He prostrated himself on the ground in front of Lord Brahma, pretending to be a very great devotee, of course. And then he started to utter praise of Lord Brahma. He sang so many prayers, so many stanzas of prayer to Lord Brahma, glorifying him to earn his compassion. And then he asked Lord Brahma for a benediction of immortality. And Lord Brahma said, I can only give you what I have. If I don't have immortality, how am I going to give you? I have a timeline. I have a lifespan that's going to come to an end. I can't give that to you. Ask for something else. So then, this Bhagavatam explains that he asks, can I be killed not in the day, not in the night? Can I be killed not by man or beast or any being created by you? Brahma said, so be it, so be it. He said, I do not want to be killed in the air, on land, or in the ocean. So be it, Brahma said. Then he said, I do not want to be killed by any weapon. Brahma said, so be it. So then, what happened was Hiranyakashipu became so ecstatic that he got all of this benediction that he began to terrorize the entire universe. He took over the planet of the Pisachas, the ghosts. He took over the planet of the Gandharvas. He took over the planet of all the demigods. He took over the king of heaven's position. He took over Indra's Asan, which had magical powers in itself. And he remained enjoying perpetually there, while instructing his demoniac forces to go throughout the creation. And wherever there was sacrifice of Vishnu happening by those brahmanas, the worship of cows, or fire yagyas, or the chanting of hymns of the Vedas, to cause havoc and kill those people. So this demoniac force, Hiranyakashipu, he then started to speak in harsh ways to all of the demigods who were then by then his servants. So then, when Lord Brahma agreed to give him benedictions, he prayed not to be killed by any living entity, not to be killed in a place covered or uncovered, not to die in daytime or nighttime, not to be killed by any weapon on land or in the air, and not to be killed by any human being, animal, demigod, or any other living or non-living entity. He further prayed for the supremacy over the entire universe, and he requested the eightfold mystic powers like Anima and Lagima. So these cities, they are within every being. And when you practice the proper yoga process under the proper guidance of a bona fide teacher, you acquire these cities. And you can become lighter than the light and smaller than the smallest, etc. You know, something like what David Copperfield does in his magic shows, right? But you do this for real. So devotees are not really interested in these things because they become a distraction to the real goal of life. So he acquired all of this, and this made him very, very proud. Now his name, Hiranyakashipu. Hiranya and Kashipu, it means gold and cushion. But the cushion, Kashipu, it actually refers to sense gratification, material comfort. And his prime duty in life was to enjoy beyond what was given to him. The Ishopanishad explains that one should only accept what one needs, not more than that which is necessary, knowing well to who it belongs. Right? So that's the first or second mantra in the Sri Ishopanishad. And Hiranyakashipu, he conquered this entire planetary system. He conquered the lower planetary systems. He conquered higher. And he was still not satisfied. So, Hiranyakashipu, he had 4 sons. Of the 4, he had one son, Prahlad, who was so angelic in behavior and in his communication with his elders. He was so respectful. His face was so peaceful. This child was some type of child that anyone would desire to have close association with. So Prahlad Maharaj was put into a special gurukul or a special school in the kingdom. And his teachers were the sons of Sukracharya, the guru of Hiranyakashipu. So one time, he saw Prahlad and he took him onto his lap, rubbed his hair and smelt his hair in affection, and said, "My dear Prahlad, what is the greatest thing you have learned from your teachers in school today?" You know, like how sometimes our dad would ask us, "How was your day at school?" So he asked Prahlad this. And Prahlad said this prayer, "Tatsadu manye asuna varyam dehinam sada samudrigna diyam asad grahat. Hidvatma patam griham andakupam vanam gato yaddarim ashrayeta." Prahlad said, "O best of the Asuras, king of demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because, having fallen in the dark well where there's no water but only suffering, one should give up this position and go to the forest. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Now he's speaking to the king of demons, whose prime interest in life is Hiranya and Kashipu, who considers in his demoniac nature that his arch enemy is Vishnu. So, how is this so? So then, Hiranyakashipu, he did one thing. He called the teachers and he said, "Take this boy away and guard him carefully so that no Vaishnav enters in disguise to further pollute him. As it is, we do not know where he has got this knowledge from." So Sanda and Amarga, they took Prahlad back to the school and they terrorized him to get the truth out of him. "Where did you get this knowledge from? We have not mentioned it, neither have any of the associates within the boundaries of this school. How is it that you have become educated in these subjects?" And Prahlad answered. He said, "I have learnt this previously from a source of authority." Meanwhile, we know that from the Acharyas and from the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that Narad Muni imparted all of this knowledge when he was a conscious being within the womb of his mother. And he assimilated all of this. And then Prahlad Maharaj was uttering all of this in remembrance. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge come from him. So he was giving Prahlad this knowledge. Then after some time, Prahlad, he was behaving as an outstanding student, not to create a disturbance. But as soon as the teachers went out, he started to preach to his friends about Krishna consciousness and chant the holy names of the Lord. And Prahlad, in one of his teachings, he explained that the age of a person, because his friends said, Prahlad, we are 5 years old. Isn't it too early to speak such serious subject matters? And Prahlad educated them. He said that age is not determined by a number. In other words, by the ticking of any clock. Age is determined by how much of knowledge a person acquires from a bona fide source. So Prahlad Maharaj, the teachers then, would come and Prahlad would be a normal student. And then he would go on with his classroom duties, and he would learn the subjects of diplomacy that is meant for a prince to rule after his father as a heir. And when he was sufficiently educated in the line of diplomacy that they were teaching, the teachers dressed him up very nicely, bathed him, and took him to his father. And when they took him to Hiranyakashipu this time, they had so much hope. And when Hiranyakashipu himself, he said, I've been hearing from your teachers that you have excelled in the subjects of diplomacy, and I'm so proud of you, my son. So rubbing the 5-year-old boy's head in affection and kissing it, he asked him, tell me, what have you learned from your teachers? And Prahlad answered, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. He said the best thing he had learned was devotional service to Lord Vishnu, the 9 processes of devotional service, and that one who engages in pure devotional service to the Lord is the most learned person. Hiranyakashipu was furious to the limit. And he wanted to know, where did Prahlad get all of these teachings? And we know in Bhagavad Gita, one of the seed verses, Tesham eva nukampartam, Lord Krishna explains that seated within the heart of any person who performs worship and glorification of him, what does he do? He gives the understanding by which they could come to him. Tesham eva nukampartam aham ajnat jam tamaha nasyam yatma bhavasto jnana deepena basvataha. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in the hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna, seated within the heart, he allowed remembrance to Prahlad of all this profound knowledge that his spiritual teacher Narad Muni had taught him. Thus, even though he was surrounded by demoniac forces, Prahlad had been awakened. Then after some time, the teachers found out that Prahlad Maharaj was not only festering his so-called polluted consciousness, he was now, they discovered, he has been contaminating the entire school. So this time they gave up. They brought him straight to Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu asked him, my son, what have you been learning? And he said to Hiranyakashipu, that personality who considers himself to be the chief amongst all chiefs, he said to him, unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnav, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way can one be freed from material contamination. How dare Prahlad utter this? in front of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu became furious. He pushed Prahlad out of his lap with such force. This must have been the beginning of child abuse, right? In the Satya Yuga. He pushed Prahlad down so violently. And furthermore, he instructed his entire army, which was mighty, rather mighty. He instructed them, go do whatever you have to, kill Prahlad. So for a father to instruct an entire army to kill an innocent 5-year-old boy really shows, one, what type of a heart, what type of filth was within his consciousness and his heart. So the army, in fear of this majestic ruler, they proceeded. They took Prahlad to a herd of mad elephants and induced the elephants to stampede him. And Prahlad Maharaj simply put his hands together and with single-pointed determination, Eke ha Kurunandana, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, single-minded determination, Prahlad began to chant the holy names of the Lord with attentiveness unparalleled. And by this chanting, Prahlad was unharmed. Not a hair on the body of this 5-year-old boy was disturbed by the herd of mad elephants. Then they came up with another strategy. They decided to push him off a cliff. And when they pushed him off a cliff, Prahlad Maharaj, he was undisturbed. He was unharmed because he remained steadfast in chanting the holy names of the Lord. That much power is invested in this Maha Mantra that Srila Prabhupada has freely distributed on behalf of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to people like you and I in Africa, of all places. The potency in this mantra is so great to protect us that if we follow in the footsteps of Prahlad and cultivate this type of determination, this protection is guaranteed. Then they took Prahlad Maharaj and they put him in a pit of snakes, venomous snakes, the most venomous snakes. And the same thing happened. Prahlad did the same thing and he was saved. You see, there's a saying you may have heard, Rake Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rake Ke. If Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. And if Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. So Prahlad Maharaj, with such determination, he overcame all of that. Eventually, Hiranyakashipu, he was so agitated by the failure of his entire forceful demoniac army that he called his wife Kayadu and he said, cook an opulent feast of all the preparations that Prahlad Maharaj loves. And then he laced these preparations with the most terrible poison he could get. And he fed this food to Prahlad. He invited Prahlad to come and sit and eat. Can you imagine how demoniac a personality Hiranyakashipu had been? And Prahlad Maharaj, understanding the teachings of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one who eats food that is not offered first for sacrifice eats only verily lumps of sin. And Krishna furthermore ensures the practitioner of Krishna consciousness that patram pushpam phalam tvayam yome bhakta prayachati. If you offer me with love and devotion a fruit, a flower, a leaf, and some water, I will accept. You don't have to build a factory and process the food. Fruit, flower, leaf, and some water is easily available, free of charge by nature. Right? Who is unable to get that in their grips? So Krishna is telling us, if you offer this with the ingredients of love and devotion, I will accept. And when Krishna accepts, the person making that offering gets so much of good fortune that it is, with my one mouth I cannot explain. Even if I have 1,000 mouths, I'll not be able to tell you how glorious this compassion of the Lord is. So Hiranyakashipu, when the poison failed, he became totally angry. What he thought was total anger. And he pulled out his sword and he said, I will kill you with my own hands, myself. So he said, where is this God of yours? Will he come, that will come and that you think is protecting you? Prahlad said, he is everywhere. God's one quality is that he is omnipotent. He's Sarvagata, right? He's within every atom, in between every atom. So Hiranyakashipu's temper was rising even more by each utterance of Prahlad, that he pulled his sword and he struck, he pointed to this pillar and he said, is he in this pillar? With sort of sarcasm, that your God will not be in this pillar. And Prahlad said, yes, he's within the pillar. And Hiranyakashipu struck the pillar with great anger. And from that pillar, to his great amazement, a long time before dusk, a personality so ferocious, roaring, that elephants were running miles away from him. This personality, embodying Krishna's complete anger potency, appeared to protect. So one time, we come to that pastime. So this picture appears very ferocious, but there's something else to it we'll speak about later. So Lord Nrsimhadev appeared in this half man, half lion form. And being obedient to the will of Lord Brahma, he killed Hiranyakashipu after a long fight, which satisfied his chivalrous nature. He'd been wanting a good fight for a long time. And that's also another reason why his devotees accepted these three birds as demons. So what happened was that when he was spotting with Hiranyakashipu, just like a wasp in front of this majestic form of Lord Nrsimhadev, Nrsimhadev's army, they also decided to attack on behalf of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu's army decided to attack Lord Nrsimhadev. Can you imagine the audacity of the wasp like Hiranyakashipu to even think of slaying this majestic anger personified person, Lord Nrsimhadev? Can you imagine how filled with false pride, how he overestimated his strength and his own majesty, that he dared to do this? And then the fight ensued. He was killed very, very amazingly, not by any weapon, but with the bare nails of Hiranyakashipu, of Lord Nrsimhadev. Actually, Lord Nrsimhadev tore him open, took his intestines. The intestines semen passes through the intestines. So Prahlad, being his son, had passed through those intestines. It had become a bit auspicious. So he chose to put it over his neck as a garland, and just to make sure, he ripped the heart of Hiranyakashipu and flung it across the room. And blood from tearing the midriff of Hiranyakashipu, not in the land, air, or water, but on his thighs, not inside, not outside, but on the threshold of the palace. not during day or night, but during dusk. How clever is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the possessor or the source of all intelligence, that he killed this demon without breaking any of the boons that he had gotten. Bhakti Vigna Vinash Sri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki. So we call, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we call out to Lord Nrsimha as Bhakti Vigna Vinasha. What does that mean? That we pray to Lord Nrsimha for two things. To purify our hearts from within, so that the Ladini Shakti of Bhakti could descend. And we also pray to him to remove the obstacles on the path of Bhakti. Now, when Nrsimha was in this mood of exhibiting great anger, and after he killed this demon, Hiranyakashipu, and he was still seated on the throne, he was roaring so ferociously that all the demigods present, Indradev, and so many others, Brahma, they were all terrified. They did not want to approach this personality. They were fearful of him. So they told Lakshmi Devi, the eternal consort of Lord Nrsimha, you go forth. She said, I have never seen this form before. I've never seen him behave like this before. I think it'll take me some time. So Brahma, standing next to the 5-year-old Prahlad, said to Prahlad, Lord Nrsimha appeared for your protection. I think it's befitting if you go and try to appease him and restore him to his peaceful state so that we could all get more mercy from him. Prahlad did not need a second push. Immediately, completely fearless, he walked up to Lord Nrsimha, prostrated himself at his feet, and Nrsimha, seeing this fearless 5-year-old person with so much of devotion, reached out and touched his head. And then, an amazing thing happens when Nrsimha touches the head of Prahlad Maharaj. When Lord Nrsimha, still reading from 7th Canto, 9th chapter, text 5. When Lord Nrsimha saw the small boy Prahlad Maharaj prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet, he became most ecstatic in affection towards his devotee. Raising Prahlad, the Lord placed his hand upon the boy's head, because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. So this hand is so amazing of Lord Nrsimha that it is such an immense benediction to receive it upon one's head. And it had a certain effect on Prahlad Maharaj. When that transcendental hand touched Prahlad Maharaj, he immediately became totally purified and sanctified of any material quality or disturbance a person could have. And feeling that peace at heart and with grown devotion by the influence of the Lord doing this to him, Prahlad Maharaj began to utter some prayers in glorification of the Lord. And a few select prayers from this entire chapter, this entire canto has got so many prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. So I had much difficulty in selecting just a few for the time period that we're given. So let's read these prayers. Prahlad Maharaj prayed, how is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words, although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness, then what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified. So in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada, which you should read, Srila Prabhupada explains that Prahlad Maharaj's statement, I am not at all qualified, was indeed his most qualifying attribute. Prahlad, due to his devotion, was the personification of the third prayer that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote for us, for our purification. Trinada Pisanishana, Trarora Pisavishnana, Amanina Manadina, Kirtaniya Sadahari. That one should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. And one should be ready to offer all respect to others. Prahlad Maharaj did not retaliate when the demons were trying to harm him. He was indeed more tolerant than a tree. He offered all respect to others. His father was so demoniac, threatening his life. But we'll hear just now what was Prahlad's desire for him. Then Prahlad Maharaj, he was so qualified to be offering these prayers to the Lord because he had another quality in his heart that we're going to come through just now. These prayers please the Lord, so we should try to be attentive and see what we can learn from it and remember, so that when we put our hands together and bow our heads at the lotus feet of the Lord and appeal to Him, we can repeat some of the sentiments Prahlad has used to please the Lord successfully. My dear Lord Nrsimha, please therefore cease your anger now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since every saintly person takes pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now, they are confident of their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear. So Prahlad Maharaj knew that it could be in future, and even at present, that people will be thinking, what type of God of compassion is this? That he killed the father of a 5-year-old boy right in front of him. He has left Prahlad fatherless. So people will criticize the Lord. So the Acharyas say Prahlad, in his deep intellect, he composed this prayer to prove to people for all times that the activity of the Lord slaying his father in his very presence at the age of 5 was totally Just as if one sees a poisonous snake or a serpent or a scorpion, even if one is saintly, one will take pleasure in killing that. Because it actually helps the soul of such an envious creature to end that existence. Then, Prahlad Maharaj explains, my Lord, who is never conquered by anyone, I am not afraid of your ferocious mouth and tongue, your eyes bright like the sun, your frowning eyebrows. I do not fear your sharp, pinching teeth, your garland of intestines, your mane soaked with blood, or your high, wedge-like ears. Nor do I fear your tumultuous roaring which makes elephants flee to distant places, or your nails which are meant to kill your enemies. Now Prahlad Maharaj, when he sees this form of the Lord splattered with blood on his mane and all of these descriptions he's mentioning in this prayer, How is it that he is not fearful? The Bhagavad Gita explains, Krishna explains, time and time again, to Arjuna, who is losing equilibrium. He explains that fear is born of an impure heart. Prahlad's heart was pure. Thereby there was no fear in that heart. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives two very good analogies to understand the consciousness of a person so steadfast in faith and devotion that the heart does not harbor fear when they see the Lord in this form. That picture of Prahlad, of Nrsimha we saw just now, looked rather fearsome. But Prabhupada explains a lion, which is the most ferocious animal in the jungle, it instills fear in the hearts of all other animals. When any other animal in the jungle sees a lion, they become so fearful of their mere existence themselves. But as you see in this picture, the lion cub will go and fidget. So the lion cub does not fear the mouth of that ferocious animal that everyone else fears. The lion cub knows that this father lion is my father. He will give me shelter. I do not fear his teeth. I do not fear his mane. I do not fear his roaring. So Prabhupada explains in the same way, Prahlad Maharaj and the devotees of the Lord do not fear this ferocious form of the Lord. Then Prabhupada goes on to explain in the purport that a small fish in the ocean, the baby fish, it has got no muscle power. It is just a small fish in a huge ocean. And the people and animals that live on land, the inhabitants of land, they fear the ocean because it's so vast, it's so encompassing. They feel scared to enter this ocean. Therein lies the unknown for them. Now the little fish, having taken full shelter of the ocean, it will happily swim against the tide. It has no fear of the ocean. It lives there. So similarly, devotees of the Lord, they do not fear Nrsimha, as Prahlad Maharaj is explaining here. Then Prahlad Maharaj goes on to say, "My dear Lord, now I have complete experience concerning the worldly opulence, mystic power, longevity, and other material pleasures enjoyed by all living entities, and from Lord Brahma down to the end, as powerful time, you destroy them all. Therefore, because of my experience, I do not wish to possess them. My dear Lord, I request you, place me in touch with your pure devotee, and let me serve him as a sincere servant." Prahlad Maharaj has just become the lawful inheritor of all of these fathers' wealth. Not just one house, one house with 3 garages, upper, middle, and lower planetary systems that were conquered by his father. He's now the inheritor of all of this. He says, I have seen with so much of endeavor people put in to acquire these things, but as all-powerful time, you take it away from them. They invest so much in relationships, between man and women, and so many other relationships, and so much of other endeavors to acquire. From the time we wake up till the time we go to rest, we work so hard to provide good dwellings for the body, protection for the body, so many things for the body. But in a flash, can be taken away from us. In a flash with no notice, it can all be taken away. So Prahlad Maharaj exhibits great intelligence. He says, I want that which is more valuable. I am begging for the shelter of the lotus feet of your pure devotee, because Krishna says, one who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee, but one who claims to be the devotee of my devotee is my real devotee. Das, anudas, 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 anudas. That's our position. To become the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. And by Prahlad Maharaj desiring this, he became the most eligible person. That when Lord Nrsimha was leaving, he instructed him to take control and rule over all of these planetary systems, because he was the most befitting. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was thanking the Lord because Krishna, he did something. He protected Prahlad Maharaj from the onslaught of his father's sword, right? He did all of this. Why? Because Prahlad Maharaj explains in another prayer that follows this. You did all of this, why? Simply to make the words of your pure devotee come true. So that the words of your devotee remain virtuous. You actually took on this form. You came out from a pillar, not from any mother or father. You did all of this just to make the words of a pure devotee come true. Now Prahlad Maharaj, in his humility, he was not talking about himself, although we know he is equally qualified. He was talking about Narad Muni, and he was talking about the time when he was within the womb of his pregnant mother Kayadu. At that time, Kayadu was so fearful of the attack of the demigods that she asked Narad Muni, this great sage, she said, please bless me and my unborn child, that we will always be protected. And in order to make those words, and Narad Muni said, yes, you will always be protected and so will your son. Right? Because he's a great devotee of the Lord. And thereby, he made the words of his pure devotee come true. Oh dear Lord, oh infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives, all trying to attract him in their own way. Imagine you have many wives, right? I'm sure we all know of one person in South Africa, in Kamla, who may be having this problem, and I hope nobody else has this problem. Imagine all the wives, so many wives, making so many demands. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying material existence is like that. The senses are pulling in so many different ways. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genitals to sex, with an attractive woman. The sense of touch to contact with soft things. The belly, although full, still wants to eat more. And the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side, and the restless eyes are attracted to the scenes of sense gratification. And the active senses are attracted elsewhere. In this way, I am certainly embarrassed. So admitting these flaws in our existence, we should stand before the Lord and pray in this way. Prahlad Maharaj says, O best of great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, society, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. So Prahlad Maharaj, at this point, having attained the pleasure of the Lord, having satisfied the Lord by prayers in such an amazing way, he could ask for any benediction. You know what he says to the Lord? He says when Lord Nrsimha asks him what blessing you would like in return, ask for anything. Nrsimhadev had already blessed him with longevity and all types of good fortune that other people are seeking in this world. Prahlad Maharaj said the only thing he wants is that he wants the welfare of his father. We're coming to that in another verse. But here it's illustrating Paraduka Duki, the compassion of a saintly being. He's not worried about himself. He's worried about the sufferings of other people. My dear Lord Nrsimhadev, I see there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or forests to meditate with vows of silence, Monvrat. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone. Leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter of your lotus feet. What compassion Prahlad Maharaj has, that he is able to rule the entire place, become the monarch of, so many planetary systems. But he is placing himself in servant leadership, that he wants to serve everybody. He is not interested in his own welfare. He is interested in helping other people reach the lotus feet of the Lord. This immense compassion was also illustrated by Srila Prabhupada. And to what extent we'll hear just now. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad continues. My dear Prahlad, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Prahlad, O most pure, great, saintly person, your father has been purified along with 21 forefathers in your family because you were born in this family. The entire dynasty has been purified. Actually, just before this, Prahlad Maharaj, he had said that he is not here to do business with the Lord, but if the Lord so desires, he wants that his father, who was inimical towards the Lord for a very long time, he says, my Lord, I understand the potency of your glance, the potency of your touch was enough to purify my father. But still I am asking that you please excuse his demoniac mentality. And here the Lord is reassuring. Don't worry, 21 generations of your family have gained good fortune because you have become a great devotee. Then Lord Nrsimhadev, before he departs, he says that everybody should try to become like Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj gains that benediction he asks for, that he attain the shelter of saintly devotees of the Lord and be allowed to serve them. After Lord Nrsimhadev leaves, actually you can read further in this canto, Prahlad Maharaj meets another sage who then imparts more knowledge to him. And this sage was performing austerity that he would live like a python. So living in a hole, not moving to search for food, whatever came to him he would accept. Great austerity. And Prahlad started to question him, and the sage started to impart great knowledge to him. So this canto has got jewels that you may want to grasp and keep in the core of your heart. So reach for it as soon as you can. So, who removes all of our obstacles? Sometimes people say, who is commonly known who rides on a rat? Lord Ganesh. That Lord Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. And sure he is. Lord Ganesh's seva is to remove material obstacles. But for spiritual obstacles, it's Lord Nrsimhadev. In the Brahma Samhita, uttered by Lord Brahma himself, he states, Yad pada pallava yugam vinidam kumbha dvanve pranam samaya sakan Ganadiraja Vignan. Vihantum alam asya jagatrasya govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda. Ganesh always holds his lotus feet upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles on the path of progress in the three worlds. So this Brahma Samhita is explaining where from does Ganesh get that power? From the lotus feet of Govinda, right? Who is Govinda? Govinda, in this case, Ganesha's Istadev is Nrsimha, right? So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he in Navadvip, because we can't complete today's Katha without first going to get some mercy from Navadvip, because Navadvip is the place of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar for us in Kali Yuga. So, after writing the Navadvip Mahatmya about all the places of pilgrimage in Navadvip, he writes a 5-stanza song glorifying what he feels in these places as a arduous practitioner of Bhakti Yoga. In the first place, you see, in Navadvip, when the Lord killed the demon, he went with his many hands and he washed his hands at Nrsimha, and the water is reddish in that place from the blood of Nrsimhadev. So he says, in the same mood of Prahlad, he says, within my sinful heart are 6 enemies, headed by lust perpetually reside, as well as duplicity, the desire for fame plus sheer cunning. At the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimha, I hope he will mercifully purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Lord Krishna. So where are our enemies? Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha. They're out. Lord Nrsimhadev, we said, is outside and within. He's everywhere. He's all pervading. And our enemies, they're hiding within the core of the heart. You don't have to look for enemies outside. We are stopping ourselves. We're holding ourselves back by holding on to these enemies who we have established false friendships with. And here, in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who resides on the first step of our temple altar here, you will see, this great personality is teaching us that these enemies, they write within us, and we can pray to Lord Nrsimhadev for their removal. Shri Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki. Right? Weeping, I will beg the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimha for the benediction of worshipping Radha and Krishna in Navadvip, perfectly safe and free from all difficulties. When will Lord Hari, whose terrible form strikes fear into fear himself, ever become pleased and show me his mercy? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying for the Istadev Radha Krishna, right? That all obstacles in the path become removed in his path of bhakti. Even though Lord Nrsimha is terrifying towards sinful souls, he offers great auspiciousness unto the devotees of Lord Krishna, headed by Prahlad Maharaj. When will he be pleased to speak words of compassion unto me, a worthless fool, and thereby make me fearless? What a humble prayer. He will say, dear child, sit down freely and live happily here in Gauranga Dham, Sri Gauranga Dham. May you nicely worship the divine couple, and may you develop loving attachment for their holy names. By the mercy of my devotees, all obstacles are cast far away. With a purified heart, just perform the worship of Radha and Krishna, for such worship overflows with sweet nectar. Saying this, will the Lord delightedly place His own divine lotus feet upon my head, I will experience sublime love for the divine couple, Radha Krishna, and undergo the ecstatic transformations called sattvika. Falling on the ground, I will roll about the door of Sri Nrsimha's temple. So he's expressing great eagerness to gain the favor of Lord Nrsimhadev, and it is so in keeping with the mood of the prayers that we read of Prahlad Maharaj. And in conclusion, we can't end the evening without going to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's spiritual master is this personality that we see in this picture. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was given the Nrsimhadev mantra at what age? At the age of 5. When he was 5 years old, his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the author of the prayers we just read, he gave this 5-year-old boy this mantra, and from that age onwards, he persistently chanted it, and the obstacles on the path of his preaching were so beyond our imagination even. And he attained the protection of Lord Nrsimhadev and all success in his endeavors. And then we come to our dear and most beloved Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada had just 3 temples in ISKCON, at one time, all the devotees were very new at that time. Srila Prabhupada became very sick with stroke. He lost the function of his arms, his face became pulled, his heart weakened, his limbs could not carry him anymore, and Srila Prabhupada was in a condition of bed rest. So much so that he anticipated that he was going to leave the body. And ISKCON had only begun. 3 temples only had been established at that time. So Prabhupada thought he was going to leave the body, so he asked Jadurani at that time, who had made a painting of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, to bring the picture of his Guru Maharaj, because Prahlad Maharaj explained, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained, only by the mercy of a bona fide servant of the Lord can one attain the Lord. So in the same mood, they brought the picture and they stuck it on the door of Prabhupada's room so he could see from where he was sleeping in the bed. Then the artist Jadurani, she then brought this ferocious picture of Lord Nrsimhadev into the room of Prabhupada had just taught them about Lord Nrsimhadev, and she did this painting according to Prabhupada's instructions. And she brought this picture into the room, and at that time Prabhupada was about to use the bedpan. And he was in such a condition he couldn't help it. So he put his hands together and he prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev, please forgive me, please forgive me. And he indicated his request to his assistant. At that time, his assistant, Brahmananda Prabhu, he said, when the picture came into the room, it was just a picture on the altar. It was just a picture to me. But through the potency and devotion of Srila Prabhupada, picking his hands up and begging so arduously as if from the person himself, approaching this picture with such devotion and begging forgiveness, he said only by that could he then, his vision changed, the curtain of darkness became unveiled, and he could now at least have some idea of the potency of the picture of Lord Nrsimhadev, which I hope everybody keeps also. Then Prabhupada's condition worsened, and so much so that on the Memorial Weekend, when everything was closed, they had to admit Prabhupada into hospital because he was not improving. His condition was deteriorating. And when they took Prabhupada and they found this one, they wanted to put Prabhupada in a private hospital, not the general hospital. So they found this hospital, the Beth Israel Hospital. And the doctor who saw Prabhupada, everybody else was, busy with Memorial Weekend. This doctor came, he saw Prabhupada and he said, this old man, he's praying too much. Prabhupada's condition was so severe. And this doctor said such a foolish thing. But they had no other option. They had to keep Prabhupada there. So at one point in time, Prabhupada's head, he fell back. He fell back. He chanted, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then that last final breath, gasp for air, occurred. And for what felt like eons of time, Kirtanananda Prabhu, who was the only person in the hospital at that time, because only one devotee was allowed to stay with Prabhupada, he said he just felt his whole, and you can well imagine, he just felt his whole world, his whole existence crumble. For what seemed like eons, Prabhupada actually sort of left. And later on, Prabhupada gave a lecture. So when Prabhupada was going to the hotel, when Prabhupada was going to the hospital, he told the devotees, please chant Hare Krishna. Stay up all night, chant Hare Krishna. And he gave them the 4-line Nrsimha mantra. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakama Buddha Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. So the devotees stayed up. At that time, Jadurani, Prabhupada called her, and before he could leave his body, so to speak, he told her to write this prayer, and he gave it to her. And she wrote it, and they made copies on pieces of paper, and they went back and they handed this prayer out. And Srila Prabhupada said, all the devotees should chant this mantra, and with the mentality that my spiritual master has not yet finished his job. Please, my dear Lord Nrsimha, if you so desire, please allow him to continue for some time more. And they, with great sincerity, stayed up and they chanted this mantra and the Hare Krishna mantra. And then Prabhupada, when he was in hospital, Jadurani brought the picture of Nrsimha to his room and a picture of Radha and Krishna and posted it in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was very happy by that. And Kirtanananda, he phoned Hayagriva Prabhu in San Francisco. He phoned, the LA temple. He told the devotees in 22nd Avenue that this is the condition of Prabhupada. Prabhupada's wish is that all the devotees, all the members of ISKCON chant in this manner. So that was the first time they got given this part of the Nrsimha mantra in the ISKCON movement. And then Srila Prabhupada, at one point in time when he recovered, he gave a lecture that you'll find in the folio in the Vedabase. And Prabhupada says, at that time, he actually left his body. And by the sincere prayers of all of the devotees, Krishna gave him an allowance of time to execute more service in his mission. Then when Prabhupada was in LA at one time, the San Francisco Ratha Yatra was taking place, and that great personality whose appearance day was yesterday, Jayananda Prabhu, he had arranged this huge festival. All the devotees had gone, and Prabhupada's health was a bit weak, so he was still upstairs. And somebody threw cherry bombs into the temple. And there was one Mataji, 8 months pregnant, Nag Patni Mata Devi Dasi. She was in the temple room, Prabhupada was upstairs. Very few other devotees were in the temple, just the cooks, etc. And this cherry bomb came into the temple room and started to explode with this huge, tumultuous noise. Just on Diwali, how frightening it is to hear all these explosions. So you can imagine the contained atmosphere of the temple room. It reverberated so badly. And Prabhupada called Karandar Prabhu, who at that time was in charge, and Prabhupada asked him what had happened. Are any of the devotees injured, or, what had happened? And Karandar explained, no, it was just one very heavily pregnant Mataji was in the temple room. Prabhupada called for her, and all the devotees asked them how they were, exhibited great concern. And then he said, now I will teach you an addition to the Nrsimha mantra. And then he started to teach then the whole Nrsimha song as we know. Namaste Nrsimhaya Praladalata Dilhayane, etc. And just in conclusion, at one time, coming back to that ferocious picture of Lord Nrsimhadev that Jadurani had painted and that was hanging in the temple rooms, Janaki, Mukundamaja's wife, she came by and she saw this picture and she said to Prabhupada, she had that relationship with Prabhupada, she said to Prabhupada, this picture is so ghastly. And Prabhupada said, no, for the devotees it's very nice. Actually, one time I remember in the temple, we used to have the walls lined with these huge frames in the olden days. And I was preaching to one devotee, one newcomer, and the newcomer pointed to the picture and said, what a picture in a temple. Wasn't it supposed to be a place of calmness, serenity, and peace? And I said, my dear friend, this picture is a love story. It is not what it appears to our limited vision. Hear the love story of this picture. This picture is the love that God shows for this little 5-year-old boy. You're looking and you're just seeing the man that's having his open heart surgery, right? In public, by the Lord's fingernails. No. This is a love story. This picture will show for people and for all times how much of love God in this form has for a serious practitioner of his path of bhakti. So, the last thing in the class is, every festival, you come to Ram Navami, some person sits on the Vyasasana and proclaims the glories of Lord Ramachandra, and you think, maybe he's my Istadev, the personality I should worship. Then you come to Varahadev's appearance day, and someone is disseminating the teachings of this boy incarnation, and with so much of vigor and inspiration from the Bhagavatam, and you think, this is the form that I should worship. And then you come to Nrsimha Caturdasi and you hear the glories of Lord Nrsimhadev, and maybe by a fraction of what was said today, your heart becomes inspired to take 10 more steps towards Lord Nrsimhadev than you did yesterday. So who should we meditate on? Who do you think we should meditate on?
Krishna.
Why?
Because he's the source of all evil.
But Lord Ram and Nrsimhadev are said to be next to Krishna in line in terms of the potency they give off as in supremacy. You have to give more.
In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, the universal form,
Yes.
Krishna actually says, worship my personal form, for he is the greatest devotee who worships my personal form.
Very, very good. This is answered in the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, text 25, in a purport by Srila Prabhupada. And I think you should read with gusto, loud and clear. Go ahead, Prabhu. Yeah.
Sorry. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and a peacock feathers in his aid. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on the original form of Godhead, Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi-forms, as Vishnu, Narayan, Ram, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. And this is disclosed to Arjuna, because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, verse 25.
Thank you very much. So that's the answer. We pray to Lord Nrsimha for which two things? Who can answer? No one heard me? I'm so sorry. I'm heartbroken. Yes, Prabhu.
Removal of obstacles.
Yes. Remove all obstacles on the path of spiritual progress. Very good. This Prabhu came first for the program, together with his friend. Go ahead. What's your name?
Blessing.
Blessing. I'm pleased to meet you on this auspicious day. The second thing, who can say? To cleanse the heart of what? The second purpose of Lord Nrsimha was to do what? Anyone can help us? Yes, Blessing.
Cleanse our heart of fear.
Cleanse our heart of fear, lust, anger, greed, jealousy, madness. 6 enemies, the sons of Marichi, right? All these things that are hidden within the heart. Because as we heard from Prahlad Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the enemy lies within. So on this auspicious day, with bowed head and folded hands, we can humbly approach Lord Nrsimha and pray to him for these two types of help that he's prepared to give us. Shri Bhakti Vigna Vinasha Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai. Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Srila Prabhupada's purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.